Okay, this is my CZ125. It's a 1992 model, although as you can tell, it looks older than that. That's because it's based on a 1960s design. I think originally it kind of stemmed from the pre-war DKW 125 that a lot of bikes after the war were based on, BSA Bantam, for example. Let's make a start by showing you what's wrong with it. So somebody in the past has attempted to customize it to suit their own personal taste. Unfortunately, they've done a very bad job of it. They've cut the rear frame that supports the seat, moved the rear mudguard, and they've used this piece of aluminium then to form a seat base, which had a solo seat and a rack bolted to it. I believe this is a piece of road sign, looking at the plastic coated on the back of the aluminium. And then they've used this piece of steel bar then just kind of bolted into what's left of the frame to support the weight of the rack and the seat. Unfortunately, steel bar bends easily. Just give you a little close-up. If you're offended, look away now. Look at that, it's just tucked in there, it was bolted in place, and there's like a piece of tube then to make up the difference in diameter. This is really awful. I'm not just saying that because I've got to fix it. If this bike had been sold to somebody that couldn't fix it, they could have ended up having a very serious accident. Now, what I do find interesting in someone's attempt to build the ultimate bobber by reducing the weight on the bike is they've added weight to it by all these little trim panels. There's one on the other side, and there's also one underneath the headlamp as well. One thing that kind of amused me is they actually drilled the hole for the panel there, but then the actual hole in the frame is there, but they still, put a bolt in to hold it in place. So, yeah. Now, on a more serious note, they've also replaced a lot of the nuts and bolts with new fasteners. This is a nylock here, and the hope of the nylock is that the bolt has to pass through the nylon part of the nut to lock it in place. This one doesn't. It doesn't get anywhere near the nylon insert. So yeah, again, that's the left top shock mount. Nut is even worse, nowhere near the nylon, and the bottom's exactly the same. You've also got an oil leak as well, so a drip tray underneath it. Okay, so I'm going to remove all the offensive crap that shouldn't be on there. Jeez, this is taking ages. Time to speed it up. Taking this weird kind of checker plate trim panel off of underneath the headlight. And I think this must be one of those kind of vintage carbide headlights because there's no wires going to it whatsoever. Everything that should be going into it is here, underneath it. So this is the battery box. I'm not quite sure what it's made out of. I think it's steel. It's not held in very well. In fact, that bolt hasn't got a nut on the end of it at all. Yeah. Let's whip that off, shall we? So this is the battery box. It's quite heavy. It's like to be probably 1.5mm plate. It's made from one piece. It looks like they've kind of scored the edges with an angle grinder to fold it, because there's kind of like no radius to it. Does make it easier and squarer, but it also reduces the strength on it. And the base is just a riveted on piece of aluminium strap, I think that is. And the bottom there is quite a lot of wood. Probably done to lift the battery up. I can understand putting a piece of wood and a piece of rubber mat to provide a bit of insulation from vibrations, but that's a bit excessive. Okay, let's just remove this offensive piece of metalwork. Okay, you see that hole there? That is the little sleeve they used to kind of make the difference in diameter. That's how far it went into the frame. So pretty much everything from there back was unsupported. And there was a luggage rack on that. Okay, so this little box by here is the regulator unit. It's electromechanical. It's original, made in Czechoslovakia. Magneton, it says on there. I can swap this out for a semiconductor based one if I can find a 6-volt version. If not, I have to find some way of testing this, because that is important. Bear in mind, 6-volt. The tail light on this bike, this is fabricated for the number plate. This is a Lucas one. You can tell by the shape of it. You get these on the back of rally runabouts, MVTs, Easy Riders, that kind of thing. What's unique about them is they've only got one single circuit for tail light. So this bike had no brake lights. And this is a 12-volt LED bulb, so it wouldn't have much of a tail light either. On the subject of lighting, this bike is also missing the indicators on the front and obviously on the back. And the actual switch gear on the handlebars is original and it has got an indicator switch on it. So I will be fitting them because this bike is 1992 and it will need an MOT and it will need to meet the UK lighting regulations for a motorcycle. So just having a look at the wiring loom on this. That's one thing that's I specialise in, is wiring. The colour codes look very similar to a trailer wiring colour scheme. I don't know if this is original or not. I have used 7-core trailer wire in the past to wire bikes up because it's rather convenient. But there is in there a green and yellow, like earth wire, mains earth wire. So I don't know if it is a loom that's been made up. Someone's done a fairly decent job of it. But I'm going to check it anyway because of the age of it. Okay, another little issue in the electrical department was the cable used to connect the battery to the rest of the loom. Now the actual termination is fine. You've got ring terminals this end, red for positive, black for negative, and then you got some bullet connectors here, female ones, although you've got to use the tracer on the cable to denote which is positive and negative. It's actually the wire itself that's the issue. This is speaker cable. It's been designed for low amperage, and the cores are bonded together. So what happens is, if one of these gets hot, the insulation melts, and you basically short the positive and negative battery terminals together. I know this firsthand because my brother wired up a stereo in a Mark II Transit. He used a bit of leftover speaker cable to run power back to the battery, and it was quite high output stereo, and the cables got hot, and it caused a small engine bay fire. Right, it's getting warm out here now, so I'm going to make a cup of tea and have a think about what I'm going to do with this bike. I have got a nice pile of stainless steel fasteners now, and a nice pile of crap for the scrap man. So I've just done this little bit of trim as I was putting in the scrap bin. This is different to the other pieces, even though it's been kind of painted the same. It's actually been kind of manufactured rather than kind of fabricated as a one-off. It's kind of swaged in here, and the folds are quite nice. This went up by there. It was missing on the other side, and also the holes where they are. I don't think they're original because look how that's been drilled twice. That one there's a little bit close to the edge. I think it's possibly off another bike, maybe. I'm not sure. So when I bought the bike, I started picking up bits and pieces to restore it, and the first thing I got was a new fuel tap, because this is a gas valve, so you got on and off. It's, you're not going to have a reserve feature on a gas valve, so I've got to swap that out. Okay, with regards to some of the missing pieces, the previous owner of this bike managed to obtain off the person he bought the bike off of these parts here, and I suspect these are off an MZ, not a CZ, because that little peg there doesn't line up with that hole there, even though the shape of it looks like it should fit. So I might turn these into a battery box, I don't know. If they are MZ, it means the front mudguard is also MZ, although it looks like it will fit. Condition wise, I think I prefer the stainless steel one. That is one piece on the bike I'm actually happy with. The most important thing that I was kind of missing was the rear mudguard. Again, I suspect this is MZ, not CZ. There's a hole there that lines up there, so I can kind of make a start on it to get it to fit. Bugger, just noticed something that I'm not happy with. Okay, so the rear tyre is a Metzler. It's a fairly decent tyre. It doesn't seem to have done that many miles. The only thing is, it's a bi-directional one, so you fit it in one direction if it's on the front, one direction if it's on the back. Unfortunately, whoever fitted this tyre did it back to front. So that arrow is pointing that way if this was the front wheel, but it's not, it's the back wheel. So that arrow should be there, so the tyre needs to do a complete 180 on the rim. And unfortunately, they've dropped the same bollock on the front as well. Now the front tyre, that arrow is going that way, it should be pointing that way. Perfect. Okay, so just get an idea of how to progress with this particular project is I've bolted that rear mudguard in, and I fitted the original seat, because that's going to kind of give me an idea of how to repair the frame to support both the seat and the rear mudguard. And then it gives me an idea of how to fit all the electrics in underneath the seat and still have access to them. Okay, so I'm doing a little bit of a mock-up to work out how this originally would have worked, and I think I figured it out. The saddle has this metal bar there and a similar one there, so that would have gone across a piece of tube there, which probably would have bolted into that hole there, or maybe that one there. That might be for an indicator, maybe, not sure. This is the importance of having all the bits in place before you start fabricating. So I was originally going to put a piece of tube, went around there and around to the back there, and that wouldn't have worked because it would have hit the mudguard. Okay, so for now it's getting really hot out here, and so I've got a hat on. I think a plan is starting to formulate of how I'm going to kind of rebuild this bike. It's not going to be a complete restoration, but it might be kind of a mild custom. The important thing is I now know how the seat and the mudguard kind of fit, and I can then, start repairing the frame to suit. I have been researching on the internet and through the owner's manual to, find out how it went together, but trying to get that information is quite hard. It's an old bike. I've never worked on one before, so I'm kind of having to do a lot of stuff just kind of intuitively. I've just noticed that there's a mudguard bolt missing as well from that front fork. So again, what I'm going to find out along the way, I don't know. Hopefully the engine is okay. It is leaking oil. So yeah. Anyway, if you like the video, remember to press the like button down there. If you subscribed, much appreciated. If you haven't done so, please do so, because that would be awesome. And I'll see you again soon. Take care.